Hey, I'm Jess Hugo, personal trainer and nutritionist, and I am here to show you that life is messy, but we're doing it anyway. Welcome to Doing It Anyway, the podcast for building the life that you want without burning out. Let's get into it. Hello, my girls. Today's episode is just one big coaching conversation because I asked you guys to ask me questions about anything. I made an anonymous Q&A box. I put it in my broadcast. If you're like, why didn't I see this? How did I miss out on asking her all my juicy questions? I will do another one, and I think I'm just going to keep the same box live. So you can just go in there whenever you're listening to this, even if you're not listening in like real time, and just send a question because I think I'm going to check it often and film episodes for you guys. But basically I ask me anything when it comes to consistency, food, routine, health, fitness, not even health and fitness, just like life is lifing, like ask me anything. Majority of the questions all came across my desk being health and fitness. So I was like, okay, honestly, one big coaching conversation. I have all my questions off to the side here. The one thing in common, it wasn't a lack of information. It was kind of just like a lack of what I know all of these things, but like how do I put it in place? So I think a lot of us right now are in this situation of like, I have so much information, but I'm so overwhelmed and I don't know how to like put it into practice. So I'm hoping that by me just kind of answering these questions off the cuff, it gives you something that you can take away and implement and put it into your own routine. Even though of course it's like not going to be super custom, I'm hoping that with these questions, they will help someone or everyone listening in some type of capacity, because it needs to fit into your actual life to make it work. So that's what I felt like I was seeing most often through the questions that were coming through. And I think it's a conversation we need to have, because I think a lot of us are still very much stuck in the all or nothing. We kind of wake up and we're like, okay, I want to work on my health and fitness today. And then what kind of amounts from that is we're going really, really hard. We're trying to do the session, we're trying to do the steps, we're trying to do the food, and then everything kind of like crumbles underneath us. So I really, really want to talk about it where we kind of get rid of the overwhelm. We shouldn't be feeling overwhelmed if we're not absolutely nailing every single area of our life. Like, how can we actually reduce the overwhelm, make non-negotiables, bare minimums, and get it done? So I'm going to answer the biggest questions that came through, and I'm going to read them like full out so you guys get all the context as well. Also for me, because I did put these together a little bit of a week ago or so, and I can't remember every single thing, so it'll be good to like read it all out together. So I feel like I eat really good all day, but then I binge at night and completely lose control around food. I have a really hard time passing up sweets, and once I start eating them, it feels like a bottomless hole. Then I try to make up for it the next day by skipping meals or eating less, but I always end up overeating again later at night. It makes me feel so out of control, and honestly, it's starting to affect my confidence and belief in myself. I feel like this is so common, thinking that we kind of like lack discipline, lack control, lack a sense of anything, and we are instantly binge eaters if things aren't going good. And I think there can be a lot of confusion around that. Just because you're not having the best, meals at night does not mean you're a binge eater, right? So let's talk about this, because I think binge eating can be really such a big topic, and I don't want to like go into it a lot, but I know you mentioned like you binge at night. I think binge eating is like a whole separate thing. The reason right now that you are binging at night is because you're trying to eat really good all day. So obviously there's not that much context in this, but good or day to me, like through like reading between the lines, means that we are probably restricting a lot in the day. We're saying we're eating really good, meaning we're eating really clean. We're probably having a lot of whole foods in there, not a lot of fun foods, and we're probably pushing out our meals really far. I find as well when a lot of people say that they're eating really good in the day, they're normally like skipping breakfast and then kind of having like a wholesome lunch, and then that's why by the time they get home from the office or whatever, I don't think this person mentioned anything like that, no, but by the time they get home from the office or whatever it may be, they're actually binging the cupboard because they're so over hungry. So kind of what I would be looking at here is, don't intentionally undereat during the day. Really make sure that we're putting in place a proper breakfast, whether that's something small. Like, I love going for like a scrambled eggs vibe, but I also know that so many of us are like on the go. But can you like prep some boiled eggs? Can we just have some like pre-workout meal if we're training in the morning? For example, I always have like raisin toast, and then I'll have an earlier lunch so that I can't I say earlier lunch, what I would normally eat as a lunch. So for example, lately I have been on this for a while, ham and cheese pizza, loving like lead bread, triple smoked ham, some cheese, some sugar-free, sugar reduced, salt reduced barbecue sauce. I've been having that at like 10:30, 11 because I train in the mornings. So pulling up our lunch and like pulling up meals and even creating an extra meal in there so that we're not being super intentional around restricting in the day, because then that makes us binge the cupboard at night. So that's why you are feeling like a bottomless hole. And I know you mentioned trying to make up for it the next day by skipping meals or eating less, but this is how we get stuck in this cycle, right? Because every time we reduce, the overwhelm becomes like the problem later. So trying to really stick to 3 to 4 structured meals, having your snacks in there, having your fruit and veg in there, making sure that we look at it from a really holistic approach, and then just starting from there and seeing how you feel, because we end up eating the same amount of calories anyway. If we're overeating at night, we just feel shitter about it, right? So you may as well just eat them in the day and have that nice spread out, because it's just like we're getting to the end of the day and doing the same cycle again and again. It's also not the best way to live, obviously, because we don't want you feeling really guilty and feeling overwhelmed and feeling controlled by food. So that's what I would be doing. 3 to 4 meals a day, spreading them out, making sure there's still fun foods in there so that you don't feel like you need to binge the cupboard at night. And you're definitely going to start believing in yourself more and having more confidence by sticking to your word. So really sticking to, yep, I'm doing 3 to 4 days and I'm starting there. If you are currently listening to this podcast thinking, wow, I actually truly do need more support, structure, and strategy to reach the goals that I have in mind, then this is your sign. One-on-one coaching is where I take everything that I've mentioned in this podcast and create a customized plan for you to finally achieve your goals. It is designed for women who are ready to live their dream life. I'm talking losing the 5 to 10 kilos and living in your dream toned body sustainably so that we can have it long term. Everything between your programming, nutrition, and check-ins is made for you. On top of this, you get direct access to me so we can fast track your results together one-to-one. If this sounds like something you're interested in, there is more information below in the show notes, but you're also more than welcome to slide into my Instagram DMs and we can have a conversation there. Let's get back to the episode. Because then we'll also have less cravings as well, because we will be eating more often and you'll just be feeling so much better. So start there with that one, and then keep going from there. Next. Question 2. I work a 9 to 5 and I have a really nice gym in my apartment building. Love. But after work, I literally cannot think of anything worse than going downstairs and training. When I do go, I can't seem to stay longer than 40 minutes and I always leave feeling like I didn't do enough. I'm really good at making excuses after long days and I honestly struggle feeling motivated when I'm mentally exhausted. Okay, mental fatigue is like a lot, and I think I've had this debate before. A lot of people think, oh, you just sit at a desk all day. Like that's not exhausting as, you know, being out as a tradie, and you guys know my partner's a tradie, so I talk about this all the time. There are 2 different types of physiques. There are 2 different types of fatigues. If my partner is exhausted being on his feet all day, that is just as valid as me being exhausted, like mentally dealing with everything all day. But the difference is we still have the physical capacity to go get something done, but it's the mental fatigue and the decision making that feels terrible about it. And I know that this person hasn't mentioned anything about PCOS, but with PCOS as well, we have such mental fatigue and decision fatigue, and we cannot be making 101 decisions in a day, just as a human as well, but it's worse for PCOS just with the brain fog and all of the things. I think that it's really, really important here to have a structured plan in place so you don't have to think about it. It's perfect that you already have the gym downstairs because you just like know you don't have to drive anywhere. It's going to be there for you. It's probably fairly like empty, so you don't have to worry about busyness and all of those things. But what you are thinking about right now is like, fuck, what workout am I going to do? What exercises am I going to do in the gym? Like this is so frustrating. So really thinking about getting a structured plan in place so you can actually just walk into the gym and get it done. Like all the guesswork is taken out of that for you. I know that you mentioned that you're making a lot of excuses. I think excuses come in once you don't have a plan in place, right? Because it's so easy to be like, oh, well, I just don't feel like it and I can't be bothered making up the excuses. But if we take away all those barriers, you'll actually just be like, well, my plan says like, this is what I'm going to do on a Monday. So like, this is what I'm going to do on a Monday. You know what I mean? In terms of can't stay for longer than 40 minutes, first things first on that, like my clients only train for like 45 minutes to an hour. I personally only train for like 45 minutes to an hour. So just know that 40 minutes is great. But if you're like watching the time and kind of thinking like, fuck, get me out of here, it's also going to come down to your plan not being the best suited for you as well. Just because personally, I'm never time checking. Honestly, my clients and I'm like, fuck, how is that already the time? Because like time is flying because we're having so much fun. So I just think that you need to not be as conscious of the clock, which comes from having a structured plan for you. And then that will really fix that motivation piece as well. I think I covered everything. I'm just quickly rereading so I don't miss anything. Oh, actually, I was going to say, just romanticize your routine a bit as well. I'm sure that your apartment gym is so nice. Just getting excited to like maybe film a video, and you don't need to post it, but if you want to post it, and getting really excited to like take a cute photo in the gym, like things like that. Wearing a cute gym fit can be really motivating as well. So like really creating that separation between here's my job 9 to 5, I'm exhausted and I'm so excited to go in and challenge myself or wear this cute outfit, and just knowing that your routine should be made for your life as well. Knowing that your 9 to 5 shouldn't rule your life, if that makes sense. So, remembering, program consistency always wins. Question 3. Also, I'm sorry if it feels like I'm flying through, but I'm like, how am I going to do 10 questions and we're already 10 minutes in? Diabolical. Okay. I'm really new to the gym, and every time I walk in, I feel really overwhelmed and like everyone knows what they're doing except me. This is super common. I usually just wander around trying random machines or workouts I found online, but I don't really know what I'm doing and I'm not seeing results. I feel anxious before going because I feel so lost. I definitely see you in this. I feel like gyms can be really intimidating. There are so many really big commercial gyms now that are just like full of gym bros and meatheads, and it's an ick. And I've been talking to more and more of you guys, and I know a lot of you have been like kind of struggling with that. I think first things first, really just touring different places and seeing if you can find a place that really aligns with you. Some of my clients have been doing that at the moment, just going on tours. Like there's no expectations with that. You don't need to sign up. It's like just checking it out, going at the time that you would probably train, and just putting the feelers out and just like seeing what's best for you. I think something that we almost can get made to feel guilty of is like, we actually are just going to do what's best for us anyway. So there's nothing wrong with like going and touring a gym and like finding what's best for us. Again, I know this is similar to what I kind of just said before, but I think the reason right now you're feeling so overwhelmed about it all is because you don't have a plan in place. So really making sure you get that structured plan, and it doesn't need to be inside one-to-one coaching, but even if you dabble in doing some of the like low, like Move of Us, like some of the apps, Sweat app, things like that, just to get you familiar with following a program. Obviously, they're not really a long-term solution to see results, but you can definitely start there, or just getting comfortable at home. Even if you don't have equipment, I have a couple of clients that just have like very minimal dumbbells, and we create them a program to do at home so that they can feel comfortable looking in the mirror at home, doing it at home in their own time, and getting comfortable building that confidence before they go into a gym. Just know that you probably have better form than 90% of that gym. Like, men have the most diabolical form. Funny how they're intimidating all the women, but they actually look horrid. So know that you do know what you're doing, and the way that you can build the confidence with that as well is just like actually giving it a red hot crack. Like, I know for me, when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing at all. And I was like, this is so embarrassing, like all the things that you just mentioned, but you never know until you really push outside your comfort zone and just get going. Even if that looks like starting really early in the morning or really late at night when you know it's a bit more empty there, and getting familiar with different things, trying them out, and then kind of going from there. Just knowing as well, as I touched on briefly, I know this wasn't as results focused, but this is a short-term solution. Obviously, later on, we do need that structure so that you actually are doing targeted exercises to see those results as well. But just starting there, getting familiar with things, not trying to do too much, and then go in with a plan. Okay, 4. A PCOS question. I wonder if this overlaps with what I was just talking about. That is so me. But anyway, okay, question 4. I have PCOS and it honestly feels like nothing works for me. I already do Pilates and I get my steps in, but I still feel bloated, tired, inconsistent, and unsure what actually works for my body because there's so much conflicting advice online. Fucking facts. I'm so exhausted with all the conflicting advice online, especially with the recent name change, which I do want to share my thoughts on, but I know it's going to be controversial because I did a literal 2-minute TikTok and there was drama, but it is conflicting, especially with that. Sorry, I haven't finished the question. My energy levels are really low after work and I just want to lose weight in a healthy way without feeling like I have to obsess over everything. I definitely see you in this. As I said, it's so overwhelming online. And I think as well, like our bodies truly do need like custom plans. And sometimes even you can be in a custom plan and things aren't working and we need to change it up, right? So I think doing it from that online perspective of just looking everywhere at people's Instagrams can be a lot. And I see this and understand this from like a business perspective, right? When I first started in business, it was so crazy seeing all these different business coaches suggesting and saying all these different things. So I can totally resonate with how it would feel in the fitness sense from that lens now, but also from the lens of like, I was 20 kilos heavier. So I completely see you and get that, especially with PCOS. I actually saw a post literally yesterday. I had to hold myself back and restrain myself from commenting. These foods are good for PCOS. These foods are bad. Don't eat these. I'm not even kidding. The don't eat this list was that fucking long. I was like, what am I supposed to eat then? Like, genuinely, what am I supposed to eat then? And I'm educated enough to like know these things, right? Because that's my job. So first of all, I'm not expecting you guys to know the answers to this because that's not your job. And second of all, how overwhelming if I wasn't in the educational stance I'm in now. Like, how the fuck would I feel seeing that? I would literally like probably have to chuck out my whole entire pantry. Like, what would I actually eat? The conflicting information online, especially about chronic health conditions, is disgusting and I'm sick of it, to be frank. But let's talk about this. So perfect that you're already doing Pilates and steps. Like, we know here it's not a consistency issue. You're already like slaying the game there. But talking about the bloated, tired side of things, I think first of all, it's obviously going to be that overwhelming piece. We really need to like stop consuming information online and just really trust your gut with like, or get custom advice of like what's the way to go. But if you have been trialing different things, trust yourself. Don't see something online and change what you're trialing. But also, I'm going to say, this is all really coming down from your nutrition as well. Don't get trapped in what I was just talking about where you cut out everything. Know that you can still eat bread and rice and things like that, even if you have PCOS, because we need those foods to function, making sure that you're having enough carbs. So I'm assuming you probably work like a 9 to 5, because I know you mentioned that like work is a bit consuming. Making sure at 5 o'clock we're eating a pre-workout meal and we're going off to the gym, you know what I mean? So really making sure that we have that plan in place, and that is the healthy way to go. Doing a conservative maintenance, not going into a big deficit, so that we can really make sure that we have that energy piece there, but we still are seeing those long-term fat loss results. It will just be a little bit slower and more sustainable. But I completely see you in this, and I feel like social media is just pushing such extremes at the moment to like cut out carbs and do a detox and a tea and all this bullshit. And I'm just like, our consistency levels is more important than if we eat bread or not, because I can cut out bread and not train and I'd be the same, you know what I mean? So I just think really being across like the bare minimums so that you don't burn out, feel really overwhelmed, because PCOS can really be challenging as well. I put up a poll on my story the other day about how everyone's feeling. It was like 50-50. Most of the people said up and down, like some days I'm good, some days I'm bad. Some of the other 50% said my weight won't budge, my symptoms feel fucked. So I think a lot of us are in a very similar boat of that's already so consuming. We don't want our fitness side of things and nutrition side of things to feel all consuming as well. Okay, question 5. Also, I just want to say before I go into question 5, if anyone has any, like if you sent this and you like need more, if you want to stay anonymous, of course, as I said, go back into the question box. Actually, we'll link it below so that you guys have easy access to it. But just ask me a question, slide into my DMs if you need me to like elaborate on anything, because I know that like I'm talking a bit quick, but I'm that type of person that will accidentally over explain and say too much, and then it feels even more overwhelming. So I'm trying to make it really concise and to the point so you don't feel overwhelmed. Question 5. I know what to do to lose weight, but I really struggle to stay consistent when life gets busy. I stay at my partner's house during the week, and if I don't have food prepped or organized, I end up defaulting to takeaway or convenience foods because I'm tired and overwhelmed. I feel like every time my routine changes, everything falls apart. This is really hard because I think a lot of our boyfriends as well like don't tend to not eat healthy, but they don't tend to be as conscious as us. So it can be really hard if you're like staying at his house, say you finish late and then he's already organized food. Maybe he's ordered takeaway and you like get there and there's like Thai for dinner and you're like, what the fuck? And you feel absolutely derailed. So I know that it's really, really hard in those situations, but knowing that your routine needs to be adaptable. You need to not have a meal plan, for example. I don't know if you do, but like I'm just chatting. I know you said meal prepped, so I'm not sure if that's like based on like you're prepping based on a meal plan and now you feel like you're going off meal plan with your partner, like very context dependent. But what I find is really common is everyone's like, I need a meal plan. No, you need a flexible dieting routine. So if you have meals prepped, cool, you can have them. But if you go home or go to his house and he has Thai for dinner, flexible dieting means you can change up your macros and like change up your meal to fit your macros and calories so that you can fit it in because it's one night of the week. Something really important here though is just having a conversation as well. I think we need to not assume, and I do this too, like assuming my partner's on board. No, I'm going to tell my partner what I'm doing, and I've been talking about this with some of my one-to-ones, like just having the conversation of, hey, I really want to like focus on my health and fitness. I really want to eat better and just like it's not even just about weight loss, but I'm just not feeling the best. So I would really love your support in this. You can still eat takeaway and do what you want to do, but I don't want you making those decisions for me or influencing my decisions, because this is what I want to do to take that next step. I think it's really important as well, because I can guarantee a lot of us say these types of things of like, my partner, this and that, which I see you, but like, actually, have you had a conversation with him about it? Or even like, let's just organize once a week, you have a date night. Like, I know you might stay at your partner's more than once a week, but cool. What I would do is say, cool, Wednesday night, tracking free night. We're going to aim for like 700 calories, like around there. We don't want to go higher, but track free night, just have fun with your partner and like live a little. Bare minimums though in that day is cool, we hit our steps, we still got our session done, like we didn't not tick any boxes and then eat takeaway. It's just being like give and take. I don't expect perfection, but like, okay, what can we actually do to adapt and do a bare minimum still whilst enjoying that? And then of course with that, if we're getting takeaway, let's make our choices high protein. Let's make it balanced, enough fats, enough carbs. Let's not just make it this super carb heavy thing. Let's not be making decisions like McDonald's. Let's actually just get a proper meal like Thai. You know what I mean? So being really smart about our choices there, and then that should make it a lot easier as well, because your routine should be made for everyday things, because things pop up all the time, right? So just being really like adjusting with that one. Question 6. I feel guilty every time I eat food I actually enjoy. I feel like I'm either completely on track or completely falling off track. If I eat something bad, I instantly feel insecure, guilty, and like I ruined everything. First things first, I feel like the way I even hesitated on it, there is literally no bad or good food. So the longer you label them, the longer you're going to feel all the things that you just said you felt. I think it's really important to know, cool, there's foods that I might not feel the best eating, but it doesn't actually equal bad or like make them bad. It just means that like they're a thing that I have less often, you know what I mean? So making sure that I still have all the foods that make me feel really good first. So when I use good and bad, I feel like it should be feeling rather than labeling. Like I love a good old pasta, like a boscaiola, right? But I feel really shit after I eat it because it's so heavy, right? But that doesn't mean it's a bad food. That just means it's like a sometimes food. It's like a food that I'll enjoy like once a month if I'm like eating it out or something like that. Like I'm not going to have it in an everyday rotation unless I make like a healthier version, because that cream is way too fucking heavy for your girl. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. But labeling these things is creating that guilt, creating an emotion towards the food, which is creating this spiral for you. So really thinking about how can I introduce and include these foods without feeling all or nothing, because I know you mentioned here completely on track or completely failing. The only reason you're feeling that way is because you think you're failing when you're having quote unquote bad foods. So making sure that you actually just have good and bad, right? Good and bad, quote unquote, all the time, because it doesn't actually determine if you're on track or not. Because if you're, again, on that flexible dieting piece, if you're within your macros, you're in your calories, you're feeling good, all of the things, then we're good. So really just like getting rid of that. And that's why I do that flexible piece, because we know that you will want to have date night with your partner. We know that you're going to want to have like, you know, carbonara every now and then. That's actually fucking fine. It doesn't create this thing of like you're off track now. That's why I do it how I do it, because long term you're always going to want to go out with your girls, with your partner, whatever, and this is like making that balance, if that makes sense. So really making sure you watch how you kind of like label things, because that's creating that guilty feeling for you, and just knowing that eating something that doesn't make you feel the best or eating something that's labeled as bad doesn't actually mean you're off track. So really just starting there with changing your mindset of those things. 7. I have ADHD and I struggle with follow through when it comes to fitness. I start routines feeling super motivated, but I never seem to actually stay consistent with workouts, food, habits, and staying organized. I feel overwhelmed trying to stay on top of everything, and honestly, it gives me a lot of anxiety. This really goes into that overwhelm piece as well. I think, as I said before, all of us are feeling so overwhelmed with everything, but like having a program in place makes it that much easier. And whilst I don't have ADHD, obviously I have clients that do, family that do all of the things, and I understand it can be like you're thinking of 101 things at once, and that's really, really exhausting. But that's why complicated plans really fail you. You need something so simple, so structured, like, cool, this is what we're doing on Tuesday. It's lower body, it's 45 minutes, it's 4 exercises, it will take you this long. Having it really like planned out. But I know it's really hard with ADHD to plan it for you. So in this case, I would say getting that one-to-one support so that it's actually done for you and you don't have to think about it. It's almost like you just have to rock up, look at your phone and do it. The only thing you would have to like pencil in is like when you're going to the gym, you know what I mean? Like like in your personal calendar. I know as well you said it was like on everything with habits, staying organized, stuff like that. So that would tick off the organization of your schedule. I think as well, sticking to regular foods. I find this, I used to always say, oh my God, I could never eat the same food every day, but I actually like do within reason kind of eat the same food every day. I think it goes with your grocery shopping, right? Because if you're going to buy like ham or whatever, you'll get like 2 to 3 days out of it, like depending on how big of a serve you get and all this stuff. So I think it is quite easy to stick to the same meals within reason for the week. So what I think would be best in your situation is having the same kind of like breakfast, lunch, dinner rotation, a few meals that you can swap between, but having that rotation where you stick to it for a few days will make it really, really easy. Because I know, of course, you can hyperfixate, but it also means that you have options within reason, but not too much flexibility. I also think that having support here would be really important as well, because it is really common to have those kind of like dopamine seeking behaviors of like wanting to try different things and change different things all the time. But chopping and changing obviously doesn't really work for health and fitness. So I think having that support and leaning into it, something a lot of us need to get better at doing, is just wearing our heart on our sleeve a little bit and just being like, I'm actually struggling, and asking for help. Because I think a lot of us do wear this shield and then we get stuck in this situation of we are hiding that we're really struggling. So really making sure that you communicate this to whoever, whether it's your partner, whether it's a coach, whether, you know, you're going to dance and it's a dance teacher, just communicating like, I have ADHD, I struggle with XYZ and I need extra support in this, or just like even just like you checking in with me, you know what I mean? So really being across that, less decisions so that everything feels really easy and less exhausting, and just really leaning into having that support and accountability, because you can't really create a routine when you're in charge of it yourself, but you can work collaborative with someone to get that ideal routine. So the simpler the routine, the easier it is to stick to. Let's go question 8. I've been trying really hard for the last few months, but I honestly feel discouraged because I'm not seeing results fast enough. Between work, stress, and life commitments, I've only lost a little bit of weight, 1 kilo, and it makes me feel like I'm failing. Okay. I think that there are such unrealistic expectations because of socials, and I am always wary of this when I post results. And I recently did post that one of my clients was 2 kilos down in a month, which I feel like that can sound like a lot. It depends who you are. You might think, wow, that's not a lot. You might think, wow, that's a lot. Realistically, that's 500 grams a week, which is a really great pace. I don't know why social media has convinced us that we need to be losing 1 to 2 kilos a week. 500 grams is a really great pace. 2 kilos over a month. Think about it. If she wasn't doing anything over that month, she probably would have gained a kilo. The fact she's lost 2 kilos training a couple of days a week, like, goes to show how structure really equals results. And I know, like, I'm not just talking about her, but I'm really conscious of like what I post on my stories, making sure I really explain what we did or really explain the timeline, because I don't think it's realistic to be like expecting to lose multiple kilos per week. I don't know how long this timeline is, but if you feel like you've been doing it for, it says the last few months. So if you feel like you've been doing it for months and you've only lost 1 kilo, we may not be in a deficit here, or we may not be doing the right things. Meaning a lot of the time we try to restrict when we could just work on our output, meaning like, do we need to increase steps or sessions, and just really making sure that it suits our lifestyle, our energy, all of the things. Like, is it something that's easy to keep up with? Because I know you mentioned work, stress, and life commitments. Is our routine out of hand? Are we struggling to actually tick the boxes? Can we actually create you a routine that makes sense for your body? And also, it's not all about the scale weight. I know I talk about this a lot as well, but like, have we been seeing changes in our measurements? What about our photos? If you haven't done them, do them. What about our clothes? Are they fitting a little bit better? Are we fitting into jeans we used to not fit into? Like, there's so many other pieces in that. So really just want you like looking at other pieces, and also knowing that good things take time. I know we hate to hear this, but truly your weight loss journey is probably going to take longer than you think. If you think it's 6 months that it's going to take, double it. Because stubborn fat, once you get smaller and smaller and smaller, is really hard to lose. And you're also, especially if you're new to this, you're losing weight for the first time. You need to learn how to keep it off long term as well. So not only are we losing weight, trying to learn how to keep it off long term, but we're also wanting to get really lean. And it's like, that's going to take time. There's so many different factors to that. So really knowing that there's a lot going on here, but as long as you stay consistent, it's going to compound over time. Making sure we're ticking off those boxes, doing the non-negotiables, and managing stress where we can, which I've been trying to do, because I'm like, is my eye, so such another segue, but I'm like, is my eye related to stress? I don't know. So like creating a nighttime routine, getting like stress related products, like, you know, everyone talks about like teas, like peppermint, spearmint, whatever. I have this like body wash right now that's apparently good for stress. I don't really know. Who knows? Having like magnesium, I have a magnesium spray that I spray on my feet. I'm terrible at it, but I have it. So really, like, where can we do little things like that to implement a bit of a night routine where we have a bit of a wind down, stress less, red lights, or even just like reducing screen time and TV time and all of the things, what we could put in place, because 9 times out of 10, if you just do little tweaks like that, your sleep gets better equals better weight loss results. So it might just be a little tweak like that you can look into as well. Question 9, how do I actually stop eating when I'm full? Because I feel like once I start snacking at night, I just keep going. Even when I know I'm physically full, I still feel the urge to keep eating, especially if it's sweets or snack foods. Such a good conversation. I feel like, it's such a good question. I feel like it's so a thing of like, you can eat something really sweet and you're like, fuck, I need something savory now. And then you eat the savory thing and you're like, well, I could go for a sweet thing. And then suddenly you were eating so many different things and you're like feeling out of control. So I think it's really about what I just mentioned before about creating that wind down routine. I feel like when I am very overwhelmed and stressed and I don't separate work and like the afternoon, the hours kind of roll into the next, especially lately with it just getting so dark so early. Somehow all the hours are just fading away in the afternoons. And then also if I'm got bookings in the afternoons, I'm like, whoa, like there goes my whole entire night. I'm overwhelmed. Why am I eating dinner at 8:30 p.m? Like, it's just crazy, right? So really creating that nighttime routine and knowing that we're probably dopamine seeking in that, right? Because that's what food is, especially at night. So what I try to do is watch something like I'm really interested in. At the moment, I am watching From on Stan. I can't believe it's week by week episodes. It pisses me off, but I'm so invested in that. I'm not picking up my phone. I'm not even thinking about food. I'm like watching the plot. So really like a plot driven show. Or reading. I know some of you guys have like been struggling to get around it because it can be quote unquote boring. Read thrillers. And if you need recommendations, add me on Storygraph, because seriously, I'm a thriller girly through and through. And like the page turning, the plot, you're like, what the fuck's happening? You can't even think about food because you're so invested in like what's going on. So I know that's like a bit silly, but I know that sometimes coloring in and stuff, like we can lock in on, but it can still get boring and then we like want to eat and stuff. So something that has your mind thinking, but not in a way that you're like overthinking and won't be able to sleep. You know what I mean? So just having like a book like that, or even follow along with an audiobook if you are not the best reader or you're new to reading. It is a fine line though, because we don't want to be consuming too much. We don't want to be like listening and then reading and like just like keeping our brain really active, but a bit of a wind down routine really will help. Just going back to the question. Yeah, because we're just seeking different things. So like trying to get off our phone and do something else and distract yourself. If you're still hungry after that, then you're genuinely just hungry. But there is obviously a disconnect here between like, are these foods that you're waiting till the end of the day to eat? Are they like foods that you tell yourself you can't have? Because that's going to create a space around that as well. But really just creating that slow down routine. And I think as well, we think we're still hungry because we're emotionally charged. We're not satisfied with like, we're overthinking conversations. We can't get into this like calm wind down routine. We're worrying about work, friendships, whatever. And that is why. And then we associate those weird feelings with food. So I think as well, one other piece in that, which I can't believe I haven't brought up at all in 9 whole questions, journaling, really just writing down what you're thinking and feeling. Otherwise you're going to keep replaying the same conversations over and over again. And then just like is kind of intuitive, because then you want to eat food because you're overwhelmed and emotional and reactive and all of the things. So really just being across that, clocking how you feel, which comes from writing it down, journaling, brain dumping, all of the things. Last question. I feel like I've gained comfort weight since getting into a relationship, working more and becoming busier in life. How do I get back to feeling like myself again without becoming obsessive? I love this because I think this is like hit the nail on the head. We become so obsessive. Like I was saying before, it's like, oh, I want to lose some weight. I'm going to do 101 things. So really just simplifying this. First of all, relationship weight gain is really, really common. I was gaining so much weight at the start of my relationship. Like that contributed to the 20 kilos. Like I was definitely already gaining weight, but that extra like 10 I feel came from like my relationship, just eating out a lot, the start of like the honeymoon phase of like going on dates and all of the things. And I think as well, and I have talked about this before, that connection piece really comes from eating out, which I try to break. I'm like, can we just get a coffee and go for a walk, like with all my friends, not just like my partner? But I'm like, we don't need to sit down, eat, have a full fucking meal. You know what I mean? That's where we get stuck in this kind of trap. So knowing that that's just the initial phases, having a conversation with your partner, but also like what actually feels good? What type of exercise do you enjoy? Because if you enjoy it, it's not going to feel obsessive. How about you just start going for walks a couple days a week? How about you pick up some fitness classes? How about you just start dabbling in the gym? Even if that looks like going on the treadmill, looking around at what everyone else is doing. Where can we start that actually feels really good and easy for us? Because if it feels fun, easy, good, it's not going to become obsessive. Knowing in this though, if we're going to start on the fitness piece, cool, we're going to leave nutrition for now. Without just being conscious. We can be conscious, but we're not going to start tracking. Or if you want to start tracking and being across nutrition, we're just going to do walks. We're not going to introduce sessions, because when we do all of that, that's when it becomes really, really overwhelming. So just being really chill. If you do start on the tracking side of things though, know that you don't have to track forever. You start being across foods, understanding what you're eating, and then it is like more calm, and then you can swap into the fitness side and be like, the training side, and be like, well, I actually have a good knowledge around food now that I don't feel like I need to track all the time, because I'm like aware and conscious. So knowing that you can like switch between the two, you don't need to do both full 100% at the same time. Hopefully that makes sense. And then you'll be feeling like yourself again. I just reread the question so that I made sure that I answered it properly. I think that was everything. Yeah. Stunning. I can't believe I just got through them all. So many questions in this of like, I guess essentially it's like, I know what I can do. I have all the information, but I can't stick to anything. And I think something I want you to take away from this is like, so many of us do feel the same feels. We are kind of struggling with the same things. How good does it feel just like asking a question and having a conversation and knowing you're not alone in that? So if you saw yourself in any of the questions here, know you're not alone in that. It is really, really common, and these are such like common struggles. So I'm not really surprised that they came through. Something I want you guys to take away from this is not going balls to the wall with any of it. If you had some advice that felt really tailored to you, perfect, but don't feel overwhelmed with it. Start really small. As I said, I'll link those questions below, so feel free to fill them out, or come into my DMs if you did submit one of those questions and you need any more clarification from me, or you had any follow-up questions. That's me. I'm like, wait, I have a question. So stunning. That was so much fun. I would love to see your questions for a part 2, another video, all of the things. That is all from me, and I will catch you all in the next one. Mwah. And that is a wrap on another episode of Doing It Anyway. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love for you to rate it 5 stars, share it with your friends, share it on your stories. And if you have any feedback, I would love to hear it. Please shoot me a DM on Instagram. All my links are below. See you in the next episode.